Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Motor Mouth and Wild. Bill Winters. And Bill, glad to have you back on the program today. We have a super edition of our show tonight, buddy.
Nice to be on your show, Scott.
No, our show, Bill.
Excusez-moi.
Excusez-moi. Okay. But anyways, Bill, the purpose of the show is as we get ready for the Super Bowl, we're going to talk about layoffs, whether a 1 week or 2 week layoff would make the game more competitive. So what's your take on that?
Well, the simplest way to answer this question is you really find during this week layoff how smart your football team is and their ability to handle an avalanche of distractions. And that really separates the pretenders from the contenders. So, I always get a chuckle, out of, all right, who's going to screw up during the week, the 2 week period before the game. And there have been some legendary screw-ups, and it directly trickles down to their team and usually causes their team to lose. So I always kind of look at, how educated these guys are, what kind of character they are. Okay, that's why the NFL now does such extensive background checks, because back in the day, we didn't really have these kinds of problems. Okay, but today you have a media and you have guys making big money. Okay, so they're targets by a lot of people. And, so you have a lot of guys that get out of the routine and make some legendary screw-ups. And, we can talk about some of these guys on our show. A lot of this is, some of these guys are infamous for doing it. But I just always think that it's a question of how smart your football team is and what kind of character and how, and that kind of thing as you get ready to play the Super Bowl.
Well, it's amazing too, Bill. Do you want to list some of the guys that you're referring to and some of the actual incidents? We can maybe recap a few throughout the years during this period of time, not only during the 2 weeks, but leading up to the game, the night before the game, where incidents have happened that have kept guys out of the game.
Well, the most legendary one, one of the, the major first ones that I remember was Stanley Wilson from the Cincinnati Bengals. The day before the Super Bowl in the last team meeting, he's MIA because he's out on a coke binge, and his tight ends coach finds him. I think Coach Anderson, and quite frankly, it really hurt the team because they really needed him, to be back in the backfield with Icky, and he let the team down. He literally could not handle, the pressure of playing in a big game. So he had a little bit of a character flaw. Plus, he was a cokehead. This was like, he had a couple of relapses. So he went MIA, and his coach finds him in the bathroom, and he's high as a kite. So, it's just a complete lack of judgment. It deserves a rightful place among the list of guys we're going to go down. Ordinarily, most players, they get a good night's sleep, a night before the biggest game of their lives. Stanley's out, running around doing blow and missing the team meeting and going on a bender, and is found high by his position coach. And that was his third relapse, which banned him from the NFL for life. And the Bengals went on to lose 20-16 by the 49ers. You remember that one? You remember that one?
Yeah, I do, actually, Bill.
Do you remember Joe Montana beating them in the last couple of minutes with that cross, that post pattern to Jerry Rice?
Oh, yeah. Well, Joe Montana beat a lot of people at crunch time, but yeah, I definitely remember what you're talking about for sure.
They had the 49ers beat. Had they had Stanley Wilson, that probably would not have happened. I remember Sam Weiss talking about it after the game. And that's one of the first times I woke up and I said, man, you got to, keep an eye on these guys because they can't handle the free time, and the hype going into the game.
Right.
So, like I said before, the 49ers, they draft smart people. I'm just telling you. All right, so, that's just one. All right. Well, let's take a look at, remember Barrett Robbins?
Oh, yeah, I was about to mention him, but thanks for bringing it up.
This is, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Barrett Robbins, is in San Diego.
Right.
All right. And he had a multitude of legal problems. They're getting ready to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Right.
All right. And Robbins disappears from the team hotel on Saturday and goes in a drinking bitch in Tijuana, Mexico.
Remember that, yeah.
Remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
The Oakland offensive lineman was so incoherent that he actually thought his Raiders had won the game. Okay, the bond being found, Robbins was sent home, and Oakland got crushed by Tampa Bay 48-21.
Yeah, that was...
So in addition to it just wasn't Oakland's day.
Wow.
I remember I lived in Tampa back then. I was a season ticket holder for them. I watched them, beat Philadelphia and then go back out there. Okay, but Gruden had their number that day. But one of their best linemen going off on that. And I don't mean to make light of it because Barrett Robbins has proven to have mental illness pretty badly.
Right.
If you take a look at what's gone on with his career, there's a serious side to this. But, a lot of times when you get the pressure of a big game like that, a lot of guys' weaknesses inside come out. Their cocaine addictions or their mental health. It's tough.
Well, it didn't hurt that John Gruden was looking to run up to score against Al Davis either, Bill. And Oakland got their butts kicked badly, and then John Gruden had a vendetta. And yet the irony is now John Gruden is coaching the Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm sure you probably heard the announcement today that they made that announcement official that they are in Las Vegas. But, yeah, John Gruden was looking to run it up, and he would do anything he could to stick it to Al Davis, Bill.
Well, yeah, there's nothing worse than being able to know what the Oakland Raiders are doing on offense. I can just relay it to the defensive coach. At least they weren't out there banging garbage can lids, lids, like the Houston Astros were doing. Okay.
Right.
All right. This is one that's really difficult for me to stomach.
Okay.
But it happened. Remember Ray Lewis?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember that. And Buckhead.
What do you remember about that, Scotty?
What I remember, Bill, about that one is that Ray Lewis was involved with a crime that ultimately cost some people their lives, and that in Buckhead, a ritzy part of Atlanta during the Super Bowl, and that was a situation where, to me, Ray Lewis was facing jail time, and that was a very serious problem, and he ratted on everybody else and got off because of his celebrity got him off, is what it really did. But he should have been locked up a long time, knowing he was part of something that should never have happened. It cost somebody their life, Bill.
I don't know if I agree with you totally on that, Scott.
Okay.
Ray Lewis is a character guy, but he did have some people in his limousine that were a questionable character.
Right.
Okay, and and you have to make smart decisions. And unfortunately, I'll tell you, Ray learned the hard way because I'm sure he spent a ton of money in his defense getting off on that after he was indicted for murder and aggravated assault charges. All right, and he was eventually acquitted, but he was convicted of obstruction of justice.
Well,
okay, so you kind of sit back and go, yeah, I kind of agree with you there.
Right.
Okay, that his presence and how much he meant to the NFL. Okay, he got off. I call it the Chris Carter syndrome.
Right.
Okay, and but I understand what they're going through, but it's a learning process for a lot of guys, and I'm glad that he was able to get acquitted. But dude, what are you thinking?
Right. Well,
it's like an intelligence test.
But, Bill, it doesn't hurt that he had Rusty Hardin as his attorney either, because Rusty Hardin is one of the best lawyers on the planet, Bill. You know that as well as I do.
Yeah. And he paid for it, too.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Oh, did he ever? Well, now...
Go ahead.
That's okay. I believe one in my first Super Bowl that I covered, Bill, was Super Bowl 33. Wasn't that the Ray Buchanan situation in Miami, if I remember right? I'm pretty sure.
You have to coach me up on that one.
Yeah, I was actually covering the game, and there was a situation involving an Atlanta Falcons player. My gut feeling it was Ray Buchanan. But anyways, there was a situation that obviously hampered the Falcons in Elway's finale that saw John go out on top. So that's where we'll leave it at that. There was a game that was actually billed where, you had the Dan Reeves coaching against his old team, and Mike Shanahan happened to be the coach of the Broncos.
Well, yeah, I remember that one.
Okay.
Here's another one. How about Adrian Osweiler? He was a defensive end for the New York Giants. He's on injured reserve, so he's unable to participate in practices and game preparation.
Right.
So he had too much time on his hands. Mm-hmm. He didn't use his time wisely.
Right.
Okay, he's back of a defensive end. He's arrested on suspicion of extreme DUI. Mm-hmm. He blew double the legal limit. Okay, the team sent him home, but he got lucky because the Giants, beat the unbeaten Patriots that year. Okay, but dude, you represent something. You're walking around getting loaded. It's just, it's just poor. Let's just say lapses in judgment.
Right.
Here's another one.
Okay.
Willie Andrews, on February 3rd, 2008. The New England Patriots see their perfect season is blemished by the New York Giants.
Right.
2 days after the game, their backup safety proved that their players aren't far from perfect. Okay, he gets caught with $6,800 in cash,
Jeez.
and half a pound of marijuana in an unregistered Ford Crown Victoria.
Oh my God!
He's arrested in Lowell, Mass, charged with possession of marijuana and attempt to distribute, and for operating an unregistered motor vehicle. Okay? And previous to this, about 6 years earlier, he was sentenced to 30 days in prison after pleading guilty to a misdemeanor gun charge.
Wow.
Okay? Yeah. Now, here's one of my favorites. Okay? You have to laugh at some of this stuff.
Oh, I am.
Because these are basically good guys, but they just, make poor decisions out in the field.
Oh,
and
yeah.
sometimes I think it's just how they get rid of stress. Remember Eugene Robinson?
Oh yeah.
Tell me about what you know about Eugene.
Well, I'll let you tell me the incident, and then we can go there.
Okay, Eugene. This is one of the craziest things in NFL history. Okay, his Atlanta Falcons are 1 day away from playing in Super Bowl 33, and he's just won the Bart Starr Award.
That was the one I was referring to.
Is,
okay, so
yeah.
I'm sorry, Bill. That was the one I was referring to as Eugene Robinson, Super Bowl 33.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks for clarifying that.
That's the award for the player who displays high moral character.
Okay.
Okay. Unfortunately, the credibility didn't last too long. Okay, because he's arrested by an undercover female officer the same evening, posting as a prostitute as he offered $40 for oral sex.
Really?
Okay. Then he gets beat. Okay, with a blown coverage in the Super Bowl against Rod Smith for 80 yards.
Wow.
Okay? Dude, some guys just don't know how to focus. All right? It's a shame. Some of it is what I call chemical dependency.
Right.
Some of it is mental illness, and that's serious stuff where these guys need help.
Right.
But some of this is just guys blowing off steam because of the pressure of the game and making poor decisions, out in public, like drinking themselves to death or trying to, get with a prostitute, okay? And I love the guys that are high-figured guys, okay, that aren't even, that are retired players, okay, get busted during Super Bowl week. Remember Warren Sapp?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Some of this stuff is laughable, but at the same time, you're going, dude, what are you thinking? All right, it's just like he's retired. He's down in South Florida, and he's working for an analyst with the NFL Network.
Oh, I remember
he's
that.
Arrested in South Florida and charged with domestic battery. He's pulled from the NFL Network temporarily, and eventually the charges against him were dropped. A few years later, didn't he get kicked off the network because they caught him soliciting a prostitute?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Unreal.
Dude, I don't understand this stuff. I don't. But at the same time, it's funny.
I got to tell you, once again, thanks for clarifying the other one. I knew there was an incident that happened at Super Bowl 33, so you clarified it. But, whether or not I get that name right or not, the bottom line is I had the event right, okay? And the sad reality, though, Bill, is that these incidents are happening the night before the biggest games of these guys' career, and you're talking about blowing